the bride-to-be. Please put your hands together. Direct your attention over here to Moira and Alex.
Hello everybody, welcome to Sarah and Chad's wedding. On behalf of myself, my wife Carrie, Dale, Nicole, and Merrill, I'd like to thank you for attending tonight. I know we have people from all over the country. We have people from Georgia, Florida. We have friends of ours who flew in from Hawaii via California. We have New York City area, but most of our people are from either New Hampshire, Rochester, or Pittsburgh. For the New Hampshire people, I don't know much about New Hampshire, never been there. I do know Dakota Casey, it's like a 12 to 13 hour drive. Though he might have been the only one to actually make that drive. Oh, three people made the drive. Everybody else took the plane, that's what I would have did. I'm too old for 12 to 13 hour drives these days. The Rochester people, thank you for coming. I've made that trip many a time in this time of year. Never know, you're driving through Erie, driving through Buffalo, in Rochester, you're gonna get 4 feet of snow or 4 inches of snow. So we thank you for making the trip. And the Pittsburgh people, and anybody who's not from Pittsburgh and doesn't understand, Pittsburgh people don't like to cross more than one bridge or one tunnel. So if you're from the South Hills, this was an easy commute, even though some people from my city friends probably never been here before. In this Washington County, because this is outside of Allegheny County where Pittsburgh is. But anybody who crossed 2 bridges, we really appreciate the effort. So, Carrie and I have been married 33 years this coming June. And when we were dating, or as my kids like to say, talking, we talked about a bunch of different things, but one of the things we talked about was how many kids we wanted to have. And surprise, surprise, the odds are that I wanted to have 5 kids, and Carrie wanted to have 5 or 6 kids. Luckily, I cut it down to 5 eventually. I don't know what I would do if I had 6 right now. But the one thing we both agreed on is we didn't want to have the first child be a girl. I had experienced knowing some people with oldest sisters, and they're always bossy and argumentative. I know my wife has experience with bossy, argumentative, older sisters.
I'm baby.
Right. So once a couple years, Carrie got pregnant, and she informed me that she knew it was a boy. She told me, she would stand in front of the mirror, or stand in front of me, and she would do like a sideways view and say, look where I'm carrying. It's definitely a boy. I can tell it's a boy. It's a boy all the way. I said, all right, that's great. You're gonna have a boy. So the day comes, I think I was actually working with my partner at the time, and cousin partner. And they called us at like 3 in the morning, and back then there was no cell phone, so they said, called us on the radio and said, hey, call the station. Had to run to a payphone, drop a dime, call the station, what's up? Hey, your wife's in labor, you gotta get home. So went to the hospital, we got to the hospital, and I was there, and it was 8 hours of labor. It wasn't that big a deal, really. I didn't break a sweat. But the moment arrived, and I was there, I'm like ready, all right, let's go. And of course, the head comes out first, and the head comes out, and I'm like, Carrie's like, what's going on? I said, looks just like my dad. Not my younger baby dad, it was like my 60-year-old dad. Actually, I'm older than him now, so. And I kept watching, rest of the baby came out, and it wasn't a boy, it was a girl. Very beautiful girl. And I said to Carrie, congratulations, you have a daughter. And she said, I knew it was a girl. I said, you didn't tell me that. She goes, well, just recently I knew it was a girl. I didn't want to tell you because I wasn't sure. So I had a daughter. Now I'm worried about the bossy argumentative side coming out that I've heard so much about. And it was like 3 years old when it first showed its ugly head. When 3.5 years old, we just had our third child, Anna, when Sarah came to me and said, we're not having any more babies. And if anybody wants to see the video, I have it on video. She says, I don't want to have any more babies. I said, what do you mean you don't want to have any more babies? We can't have any more babies. I said, why? Why can't we have more babies? She said, Mom's too busy. I said, what do you mean Mom's too busy? She doesn't do anything. She sits around the house and watches Oprah and plays with people. I'm getting every life. That was a joke. So she quickly pivoted and said, okay, well, you don't have enough chairs for any more babies. And I said I could buy more chairs. So Sarah ran away crying that she didn't win the argument. I sent Luke after her, who at the time couldn't even talk, but he settled her down. And I said, okay, that was her first time she tried to boss me around, and I kicked her ass. She's 4 years old, but hey, it gave me confidence. So Sarah, grew up, went to kindergarten. Carrie cried. She went to first grade. Carrie cried some more. Carrie put Sarah and Anna in dance. And I'm sure a lot of people here love dance too. Don't get mad at me if I insult you on the dance. But it wasn't real fun paying hundreds of dollars outfit for something that was going to be worn one time in one recital. So I would always try to talk Sarah out to dance and to do basketball. And at first she didn't want to do it. It was like 3rd, 4th, 5th grade now. I don't want to play basketball. So in 6th grade, she probably comes to me and says, yeah, I don't want to do dancing anymore. I want to do basketball. And I'm like, yes. It's basketball time. We had to go get shoes first. So the first thing she did, we had to go to the Century 3 Mall. And if anybody knows about Century 3 Mall, there is no Century 3 Mall anymore. It's gone. But I think we walked around there for 4 hours looking for pink basketball shoes. Because Sarah wanted pink basketball shoes. And she didn't want to leave unless we got pink basketball shoes. And we did find pink basketball shoes eventually. So she played basketball for several years. She got pretty good. By 8th grade, she was starting. And they went to the championship game that year. They lost the championship that year. Olivia, what happened? Are you close? So her 8th grade year ended, she went to high school. Carrie cried when she went to high school. I thought I was going to have an argument with Sarah because she went to high school. I said, what are you going to do in high school? I don't want to do anything. I said, no. I said, you should play a sport. Now, basketball will be out of the question. For those of you, anybody knows Sea LaSalle basketball around here, especially back then, I think they were like 2 or 3 state championships in a row, and they were recruiting girls from like all over the world. We had girls from Africa playing on the team. So Sarah wasn't good enough to play basketball on that team. Not many were. So I convinced her to play lacrosse. And she didn't want to play lacrosse, but I kept at it and said, just do me a favor, play your freshman year, make some friends, and then if you want to quit after your freshman year, you can quit. She stuck it out for 4 years, and she made a lot of friends. Shout out to the friends, see the cell friends? Well, the friends she made playing lacrosse, I was ready again. So I pushed my luck. thinking, all right, this argumentative thing hasn't happened yet. I'm winning all these arguments. So you should run for student government. And she lost. I think that was the downfall. That's when more arguments started. Now, once she hit teenage years, we butted heads a lot. But it really wasn't her fault. I think it was my mother's fault. I know everybody here thinks, okay, Nana Mathias, great woman, so nice with her fun. She cursed me. Every day of my life, all through high school, she would look at me and say, I pray to God that you have a child just like you, so that you can see the aggravation that you put me through. Well, there she is. Yeah, and she's just like you. As my ex-partner was just reminding me, I love to argue. She loves to argue more than I do. And the days of me, what's that?
You're like your dad.
Hey, keep the comments to the end of the speech. Look at that. But, see, now you just, I was on a roll.
Am I wrong?
You're just like me. All right. And the days of me beating up on a 4-year-old are over because she was beating my ass half the time on the arguments. Hold my own. I convinced her to play lacrosse. I convinced her at the time to go to Pitt. It really wasn't hard because it was free if she went to Pitt because I worked there. I even convinced her to take up actuarial sciences. She stuck it out for a year, then she said, nah, I'm not doing that anymore. And I actually got her first roommate too, Carly. Who's Carly at? I worked with her dad, Jeff, and she was trying out, you know how everybody goes on Instagram now looking for roommates for college. She was looking, couldn't find one, and I was sitting training with Jeff, and I said, hey, I heard your daughter's going to college here next year? Yes. So's mine. Can they be roommates? Yes. That was it. And now they're friends forever. So then she graduated high school, and when she was trying to get into Pitt, she was very worried about getting into Pitt. I mean, she had like a 4.8 grade point average. She crushed the ACTs, but she was worried that she wasn't going to get into Pitt. She got into Pitt, graduated from Pitt with magna cum laude. Somebody? Oh, you don't know, yeah. All right. Then she got a job right out of college during COVID, which wasn't an easy feat back then, and then started taking MBA classes. She eventually got her MBA. So the next step out of all this would be find a person she's going to spend the rest of her life with. And we're basically butt heads, we're the same. She wouldn't tell me anything about her love life or who she was dating. But I'd have to go through her mother, and I'd say, shut up. I'd say, who's Sarah's dating these days? And she'd say, well, she's dating this guy. I said, how's that going? Well, I guess he chewed with his mouth open, so Sarah didn't like that. So then a couple weeks later, maybe I'd say, what's going on with Sarah? Oh, she met this other guy, and she went on a couple dates, but I guess his eyebrows were too close together, so that wasn't going to work out anymore. So eventually, he came down and said, what's going on with Sarah? Is she dating anybody? Yeah, she's dating this nice kid. I guess he was an ex-football player. I said, oh yeah, tell me more about that. It's like, he was an all-state football player. I said, really? That's great. He's like from Pine Richland, Alaquippa? No, New Hampshire. New Hampshire. Is that a good? Is that a good thing? Is that a really? It's not a very big state, is it? Well, I'm sure all state anywhere is impressive. Very impressive. And she said he's a lacrosse player too. And I mean, as my brother can attest, I'm not a big fan of lacrosse players at the time. But I said, all right, when do we meet this guy? Well, we'll meet him when Sarah thinks it's appropriate. So after a while, we started doing these Sunday dinners way back when Anna went off to college because Carrie got depressed because all we had in the house now was Aaron and Noah. And Aaron and Noah were just like renters. You never hear from them. They go in their rooms, they go down and play video games. So Carrie, she was having like empty nest syndrome, so I said, all right, every Sunday we'll bring everybody home, hang out, and then I'll take everybody out to eat. So we would do that. The problem with Sarah was that she lived in the South Side. We lived 5 minutes from her. And if you're not from Pittsburgh, you might not know, but it's like a half-hour trip down the South Side, half-hour back. So it was an hour round trip to go get her. That was an hour round trip to take her back. So we did it, but it was, because of Sarah. But it was a pain in the ass. So Carrie tells me that Sarah wants us to meet her new boyfriend, Chad. I'm like, Chad? All right. Okay. So I said, tell Sarah and tell Chad that if he drives Sarah up to our house and hangs out with us, I'll pay for his meals. And he did. The first time I met Chad, he came walking in and I thought, oh, this is going to cost me a lot of money. And it did. Chad's favorite special, we go to Harrington's. If you've ever been to Harrington's, best wings in Pittsburgh, try. Chad's favorite meal at Harrington's is the 30 for 30 wing special. 30 wings, $30. It's mine too, and he can put them away. So we did this went on for like 18 months, a year, 18 months, and it was nice. I mean, Chad would come up every Sunday, we get to know him, we got to meet him. Great guy, he was all state, that's impressive. He treated Sarah great. You could see when they're together that they were getting closer. That they went from boyfriend girlfriend to something more. To eventually, you could see the love they had for each other. So I was warned, but at one point I got a phone call. Don't recognize this number. It was Chad, and he said, "Hey, I'd like to ask your daughter to marry me." I said, "Why would you want to do that?" He said, "Because I love her." I did. He said, "Because I love her." I said, "Yeah, but do you like her?" And he was taken aback a little bit. He's like, "Yeah, I like her a lot." So I said, "Then you can have her hand in marriage." And here we are. Now, it's the side of the perfect brother. There's one thing I want to acknowledge. We have a tight family, close-knit, and Sarah is the heart of the family. I know that because she tells us all the time that she is. And I'm not going to argue with her. Again, I can't beat her anymore. She's not 4 years old. But if Sarah is the heart of the family, the soul of our family is my wife, Carrie. And back to the joke, I know when we agreed to have the 5 kids, Carrie decided Carrie was the one to stay home. And I know I got the better of the deal because even though I was working 78 hours a week to pay for when he come in, she had the harder job than I did. Not just watching Oprah, she did more than that. So, and it worked out. She was also very good at diagnosing. There's a diagnosis.
No question, he's an argument.
There's wise old American philosopher who once said, "Life is about how hard you can hit, it's how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward." Well, our family's been hit pretty hard sometimes. I'm getting there.
You never cry.
I should have went this. Well, I'm also, I'm on medicine. I'm old. When my daughter Anna was 18 months, she was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. Well, I think it was like 2 or 3 days before New Year's, she had a cough. My wife says, "Hey, Anna has a cough, could you take her to the doctors?" And I'm like, "It's a cough. Why would I take her to the doctors for a cough? Just do me a favor, take her to the doctors." So we took her to the doctors. The doctor says, "Take her for an x-ray." And I'm like, "Gee, this is like football on today, I gotta take her to an x-ray." Took her to the x-ray, and long story short, they found the cancer. It was treated, it was like an 8-hour operation the first time. 2 years later, came back, it was another 8-hour operation. But Anna beat the cancer, she's here tonight, obviously. And Mary was able to see or know. A couple years later, I think 6 years later, Carrie came to me and said, "Hey, Aaron doesn't look too good. He's getting kind of thin. He's drinking a lot of water." I said, "Well, tell him not to drink so much water." He said, "Well, he pees a lot." I said, "It's because he's drinking all that water." So, all right, we'll take Aaron to the hospital, emergency room. 3 or 4 days later, we're coming back with a bunch of insulin and needles, and he's a type 1 diabetic. But, again, it was because Carrie diagnosed it. If it wasn't for me, Aaron would still be peeing too much. And then this year, she called me up and said, "Hey, no one has looked again." I said, "All right, I'll be on the way home. Let's go to the hospital." Didn't even question it. So again, I don't know what the feeling would do without you. Now back to you guys. Another philosopher once said, the secret to life, get married, you've done that. Congratulations. Have children, pass on your beliefs and your morals. Seek out the eternal, live for the joy. It was joy, one of the 5 most joyful days of my life, watching you be born. It was joy watching you take your first steps, saying your first words. It was joy watching you play basketball, almost winning the championship. It was joy watching you go to high school, off to high school, playing lacrosse, making lifetime friends. It was joy watching you go to college, watching you worry about going to college, watching you go crazy when you got your acceptance letter. It was joy watching you graduate college, watching you get your MBA, and it's been joyful watching you fall in love with Chad. So, can I be the first one tonight to say, raise a glass for Sarah and Chad, seek out the joy.
Give a round of applause for our father, Brian Bill. And right now, we're turning things over to our best man, so please put your